consciousness in today's world isn't easy. Every screen you look at bombards you with noise, opinions, and distractions, all fighting for your attention. It's no wonder most people move through life half asleep, barely noticing the patterns that shape their decisions. But awareness isn't just about paying attention. It's about tuning in to the deeper currents beneath the surface, the ones that actually steer your life. Heightening your intuition starts with learning to let go. Most of us grip tightly to plans, identities, and outcomes, convinced that control equals safety. The irony? True insight shows up when you loosen that grip. When you let the moment unfold without trying to script every detail, you start to sense the subtle nudges that intuition offers. You notice the gut feelings, the quiet warnings, the sparks of inspiration that only appear in the space between thoughts. Spiritual growth is work. It's not about escaping hardship or floating above your problems. It's about discipline, showing up for yourself day after day, even when it feels pointless. You meditate, you journal, you reflect, and sometimes it feels like nothing's changing. Then, all at once, you realize you've outgrown an old fear, or you've stopped reacting to something that used to set you off. Progress sneaks up on you. Dissolving the illusions that manipulate your perspective is a lifelong project. We're all tangled in stories about who we are and how the world works. Most of those stories aren't even ours. They're inherited, absorbed, or imposed. The more you question them, the more you see how flimsy they are. That's when real freedom begins, when you stop mistaking your conditioning for reality. Facing your fears and your inner shadows is the hardest part. It's tempting to bypass the ugly stuff, to chase the light and ignore the pain. But the only way out is through. You sit with your discomfort, you let yourself feel it, and it slowly loses its power over you. That's where transformation happens, not in escaping darkness, but in learning you can survive it. Raising your consciousness is messy, uncomfortable, and sometimes lonely. But it's worth it. Because once you see clearly, you can't go back to sleep. As you keep walking this path, you start to notice subtle shifts. You become less reactive and more responsive. Challenges don't disappear, but your relationship with them changes. Instead of seeing obstacles as punishments or proof of failure, you begin to recognize them as invitations, chances to grow, to shed old skins, to become more of who you truly are. Community matters too. While the journey is deeply personal, it's not meant to be walked entirely alone. Seek out others who are also waking up. Share your struggles and your breakthroughs. Listen with an open heart. There's a power in honest conversation, in bearing witness to each other's journeys. Sometimes, someone else's insight will unlock something in you that you never could have reached on your own. Eventually, you realize that raising your consciousness isn't a destination. There's no finish line, no certificate of enlightenment. It's a practice, one you return to again and again. Some days you'll feel clear and aligned. Other days you'll fall right back into old patterns. That's okay. What matters is that you keep going. You show up. You keep choosing awareness, even when it's hard. In time, life feels richer. You laugh more easily. You find beauty in small moments. You make decisions from a place of trust instead of fear. And as you grow, you become a quiet force for change, inspiring others simply by being yourself, awake and unafraid. As your vision sharpens, you begin to see the world, and yourself, with more compassion. You realize everyone is fighting battles you can't see, wrestling with their own shadows and illusions. Judgment softens. Empathy grows. You start to forgive more easily, not because you condone every action, but because you understand the shared struggle underneath. There's also a quiet joy that comes with this journey. Small things become sacred, a sunrise, a deep conversation, the feeling of wind on your skin. You develop a kind of gratitude that isn't loud or performative, but steady and real, woven into your everyday moments. Life stops being something to conquer and starts being something to experience fully. You might notice your priorities shifting. Things that once seemed urgent or important, status, approval, accumulating more, start to lose their grip. You invest your energy in what nourishes your soul, creativity, connection, presence. Your choices align more with your values, and you care less about living up to anyone else's script. And when setbacks happen, as they always do, you meet them with a new resilience. Not because you're immune to pain, but because you trust your capacity to navigate it. You faced your shadows before. You know you can do it again. This quiet confidence is your anchor. The path of raising consciousness is never really finished. There are always deeper layers to uncover, new illusions to unravel, and more love to discover, both within yourself and in the world around you. So you keep going, step by step, grateful for the journey, awake to its mysteries. As your awareness sharpens, you start to see the cracks in the systems around you. It becomes harder to ignore the ways government corruption and corporate interests manipulate the narrative, shaping laws and policies that don't always serve the people. You notice how misinformation spreads, how power protects itself, and how fear is used to keep populations distracted and divided. It's not just politics. It's on your plate, too. The more you wake up, the more you question what you're really eating. You see how processed foods, additives, and chemicals have crept into the mainstream diet, often with little transparency or concern for long-term health. You wonder why nourishing food isn't always the default, and you start making different choices, reading labels, seeking out whole ingredients, supporting local growers. Every bite becomes an act of awareness. Here's the secret, though. Real change doesn't start out there. It begins within. When you clean up your mind, your heart, and your habits, you naturally become less susceptible to manipulation and more powerful as a force for good. By changing your own patterns, you inspire change in those around you. One awakened person can ripple out through a family, a neighborhood, even a community, quietly, shifting what's possible. The world is a reflection of our collective inner state. When enough people choose clarity over confusion, truth over convenience, and courage over comfort, the outer structures will have no choice but to change. Corruption only thrives in the shadows. When we bring our full presence and integrity to every area of life, what we eat, how we act, how we vote, what we support, the world starts to heal from the inside out. The work is never just personal. By raising your consciousness and tending to your own growth, you're helping to build a new world, one choice at a time. Underneath all these struggles, there's a deeper truth. We're living through a spiritual battle as much as a physical one. The forces that try to keep us asleep aren't just political or economic. They're spiritual, working to keep humanity locked in cycles of fear, division, and helplessness. The real war isn't always visible. It plays out in the choices we make every day, to react or to reflect, to judge or to understand, to numb out or to stay awake. Look at the prison system, a stark example of control and containment. Physical prisons are designed to punish, to remove agency, to break spirits. But for every person behind bars, there are millions more living in invisible cells. The mental prisons are everywhere. Anxiety, self-doubt, addiction, shame, the endless loop of unworthy thoughts. It's possible to be free on the outside and still be doing hard time inside your own mind. The bars on these mental prisons are forged from old wounds, societal programming, and the relentless pressure to conform. Sometimes the locks are so subtle you don't even realize you're locked in. You might think you're making choices freely, but if you trace your motives back, you'll often find fear, scarcity, or other people's expectations pulling the strings. The spiritual battle, then, is about liberation, not just from external systems, but from these internal ones. Each act of awareness chips away at the walls. Every time you choose love over fear, presence over distraction, truth over comfort, you loosen the grip of those unseen chains. Eventually, you start to feel space where there used to be confinement. You might still be living in the same world, facing the same challenges, but your spirit is lighter, your choices are your own. That's the quiet revolution, freeing yourself from the inside out, then helping others see that freedom is possible for them too. What's wild is that the true power has always belonged to the people, not the systems that try to box us in. The institutions, the authorities, the so-called gatekeepers, they only hold sway as long as we believe their story over our own. History shows again and again that when enough people wake up, shake off the programming and stand together, the old structures crumble. It's us. We hold the key to our own freedom and prosperity. Yet so often, without meaning to, we become our own wardens and each other's, safeguarding the very prisons we're trying to escape. Every time we silence our true selves to fit in, every time we tell someone else to keep their head down, play it safe, or know their place, we reinforce those invisible bars. We correct each other to be subordinates, not out of malice, but out of fear. Fear of standing out, of rocking the boat, of what might happen if we all remembered our power. Breaking free starts with recognizing this dynamic. When we stop conforming just to make others comfortable, when we encourage those around us to speak up, dream big, and question everything, we start unlocking doors, not just for ourselves, but for everyone we touch. Freedom isn't something handed down from above. It's something we claim together. Every time we choose authenticity over obedience, courage over compliance, the world changes from the inside out and from the ground up. The keys have been in our hands all along. When it all comes down to it, the only real revolution starts within. We can't change the world if we don't change ourselves. Every system of control, every illusion, every prison, physical or mental, loses its grip the moment we choose awareness, authenticity, and courage. True power has always been with the people, and the key to freedom and prosperity sits quietly in our hands. So let's stop waiting for permission or for someone else to lead the way. The work begins with you and me. When we wake up, challenge our own beliefs, and live our truth, we give others permission to do the same. Bit by bit, those ripples grow into waves. That's how the world shifts. Not all at once, but one awakened heart at a time. It starts with us. Thanks for watching, and I hope that this resonated with you. Please like and subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment to help the channel to grow so I can keep making content to help inspire people and build a strong community of spiritual warriors.